You heard the president, whether they like it or not. What do you make of this latest escalation?
It's very concerning to everyone in this country, certainly, and also in Greenland. I think the situation is becoming upsetting to all of us. I've got American family. I've lived in your country. I really like the US. And so the diplomatic situation between the two countries is obviously deeply upsetting to us.
NATO countries, they're not happy about this. We know Denmark's prime minister warned an American takeover would mark the end of NATO. What would that mean for the alliance, Anne?
I think when she says that, I think she also ups the stakes. And I think many of the European NATO countries will try and seek some sort of agreement or deal to make sure that an escalation like this would never occur. I think also we in this country don't really expect any military confrontation between the US and Greenland or Denmark. And so she ups the stakes, and also by saying this, she engages the other NATO members in this conflict. I think one of Denmark is really fighting two fronts here. One is the diplomatic situation with the US, but there's also another front, which is the strong independence movement inside Greenland. And those two are very difficult to manage at the same time. The issue that we have within the Kingdom of Denmark, which consists of the Faroe Islands, Greenland, and Denmark, is that Greenland has a very strong independence movement. And in Greenland, if you're a politician, it's very difficult to get elected if you are not very firm on that wish that is very widespread in Greenland of being an independent country at some point. And also they have an ability to become so as per an agreement with Denmark in the Self-Rule Act of 2009.
And so, I didn't mean to interrupt. You are in Copenhagen. Is Denmark concerned about Greenland being taken by force?
I think we're very concerned with the rhetorics. Yes, it is very concerning to us. But we are also managing this two-front situation where Greenlandish are exerting their interest in becoming an independent country, by which we will cease to have any control over the territory, and by which the Greenlandic also would be free to seek association with other countries. And so those political agendas we are in a very fluid situation. And I think there's also truths. We're very, right now, we spend a lot of time dismissing the legitimacy of the American president's claim to the territory. We're also very busy dismissing some of the claims that he's making around facts in Greenland, such as that there are many Russian and Chinese boats all over the place, etc. The US has full access to the territory. If they want to secure the territory, they can just set up military bases. But we are less focused on some of the legitimacy of the concerns that the US have. And those concerns, I think, regard the strong independence movement inside Greenland and the volatility of the political situation in Greenland around independence.
What kind of precedent could an American takeover on Greenland set on a global level? Like I mentioned before, European allies are already not happy, and NATO may not exist if this does go through.
Yes, it's concerning to a point, which is our Prime Minister said everything ends if this happens. And I think it's the end of the post-war global order as we know it in Europe.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.